Hi, I'm Chris. I'm going to comment a little bit on RFK Jr. deciding to drop out of the presidential race and endorsing Donald Trump. That kind of came as a curveball to me. I wasn't fully expecting it. I had received warning of that happening, and I still wasn't really totally expecting it. It kind of happened in an unexpected way, with the Foo Fighters playing, and the politics between Donald Trump and RFK Jr., if you will, was a little bit interesting. I think Donald Trump views RFK Jr. as somewhat of a formidable uh, character. I think RFK Jr. is smarter than Donald Trump, and I think Trump is more or less aware of that. That's probably what he thinks. I don't know. You know, Donald Trump is a narcissist, clearly, and I think that you know it's probably not something that you want to just hit on the nose. It's a relatively nuanced question to consider. Is RFK Jr. smarter than Donald Trump? Asking Donald Trump that, he's probably going to give an equivocal answer. Maybe he would admit it, but he doesn't like to admit that kind of thing. So I think that RFK Jr. is being a little bit tricky when he endorses Donald Trump because, the same day he gave a speech in Arizona, a few miles from the Trump rally, which was scheduled a little bit later. And the stuff that he was saying at his own speech was pretty rational. It sounded kind of democratic, honestly. It sounded left-wing. He was talking about climate and other matters. RFK Jr. at his own speech he was talking about issues that are a matter of concern to leftists. He's made some effort to distance himself from the Democratic Party. I think he views the mainstream politics in general as a problem. And, I think that is something that he has in common with Trump, is that he views the mainstream politics as problematic. I just don't see him as politically aligned with Donald Trump. So it's kind of interesting that he endorsed him. And I think that he's doing something tricky. He's making a rhetorical maneuver that, it's a question mark. He's raising a question to his own voting base, as it were, who, are they just gonna, because supporting Trump, because Trump kind of represents enmity, and if you endorse Donald Trump, maybe you've got some problems going on in your private life and you want to send a signal to your loved ones that you're not going to put up with that shit. You're going to be a Trump supporter. You're going to take, the lemons, and you're going to throw them at your friends and your loved ones. And I think that, that is something that RFK Jr. backing Donald Trump is going to, it's going to look at that, and it's going to say, is that truly what you want to be doing? And I think for a lot of people, maybe that is what they want to be doing, and I don't really care. I think that, it's weak. It's a weak gesture. A lot of what Donald Trump represents is weak and weakness, and I think that if you hate your loved ones and you support Donald Trump because you hate your loved ones or your friends, or you're just fed up, I think that's kind of weak. And I think that if you do that, it's a free country, I guess. But is it really a free country? Because I think that that's a question. And I think that if you don't believe in democracy, why would you vote? And that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, not in the same way as the Trump supporters and the the hypothetical RFK Jr. supporters who are going to go with Donald Trump. Because I think that's kind of what RFK Jr. is doing, is he's raising a question. Do you really want to support Donald Trump? I mean, it's kind of like a step back in his rhetoric, in RFK Jr.'s rhetoric. I think it's a step back from where he was facing, where he was going, the direction that he was kind of, proceeding in or directing your attention. And I think that, Donald Trump is really dumbing down the political dialogue. I think that even, I have the impression that a lot of intelligent people like Donald Trump. But I think that reflects poorly on the American people, on what is intelligence in America. I think that if that's what an intelligent person does, is support Donald Trump, I think that raises some major questions about the level of dialogue in America and where are we going as a country. And I think that the two-party system and the mainstream media has really kind of manufactured that as a problem. And I've completely lost all faith in the mainstream media and in the two-party system. And so it did come as a surprise when RFK Jr. supported Donald Trump and endorsed Donald Trump. I think that, and so I kind of like Jill Stein and Cornel West. I think that they both represent, and I used to group them with RFK Jr. And I would say that I could vote for any of them. And I think that, approval ratings and whoever has the strongest voter turnout, that's who I would vote for. So at this point, it's probably Jill Stein. I'm guessing that her Green Party bid would not win the election. I'm just guessing. But I think that, I also think that, I do think that Kamala Harris has the ability to beat Donald Trump. I do think also that RFK Jr. made a good point in his speech yesterday that just being able to beat Donald Trump is not a political platform. I think that Kamala Harris has a lot of potential, and I think that she could do good things for the country. And I think I think that she is much better than Joe Biden. I think Joe Biden was really steering the country in the wrong direction. It was totally a mirror image of Donald Trump, literal mirror image. And I think that what he's doing is just reversing the bullshit and making more bullshit or inverted bullshit or whatever you want to call it. And I was extremely unhappy with Joe Biden's presidency. He's still president. And I think that sucks for us because I think we still have to live with having a bad president. It doesn't make sense. The mainstream media is doing everything it can. RFK Jr. had his kind of persecution complex about the mainstream media. And, not getting the coverage he deserved. The Democratic Party was probably definitely actually sabotaging his presidential campaign. Under Joe Biden, there's kind of this melodrama of RFK Jr. doesn't receive Secret Service protection. And I think that was kind of weird. I think it was like political bullshit. It was agitation type of stuff. And it was directed at RFK Jr.'s like psychological trauma from the assassination of his uncle and his father. I think that's childish. And I think that Joe Biden probably had something to do with it, because Joe Biden is a child. He's not doing anything for the country. He's got his, frat boy thing, just like Donald Trump has his frat boy thing. And, it's never done much for me at all. There was a time when I thought Joe Biden was kind of hinting that he wants to be a nihilist and he wants to play the nihilist game. Which, it can be fun. Because I think if you have a heart and you're a nihilist, you can be an interesting person. But I don't think that's what he's about. I think he's just an asshole. But yeah, so we have a room full of assholes. We got Donald Trump and we got Joe Biden. And, Kamala Harris has made some effort to, distance herself. Kamala Harris has made some effort to like distance herself from the Joe Biden presidency with all of its crazy like agitation and, kind of collectivism. It doesn't impress me at all. I think collectivism in general is a really harmful behavior. It was one individual who conceived of the United Nations, and that was Albert Einstein. And I think that that's pretty cool. I think it's cool that that Albert Einstein has he believes in democracy, and he gives us the United Nations. He says that there should be a world government, and I think that and it should be democratic. And I think that that's an impressive feat for one individual. And I think that that's just, I mean, I don't want to politicize Albert Einstein or his contributions, but I think that, if one individual can conceive of a grand idea that, that we should have democracy globally, I think that that's really optimistic, and I think it's inspiring. And I think that we don't have a lot of optimistic, inspiring individuals. And I think RFK Jr. was striking a certain like character with his platform and with his politics and his attitude. And I think that so that's kind of why I think that RFK Jr. was doing something tricky by endorsing Donald Trump, because I think that it's almost like he's saying, little brother, we can work together. We can achieve great things together. It's like it's like a gesture. And I kind of think that Donald Trump isn't entirely alien to such gestures. I think that he just wants to see the country, perhaps Donald Trump just wants to see the country go in a different direction. And he doesn't want to be the guy to do it. He's gathering so much support from people who want the country to go in another direction, but he's like a sugar daddy. He doesn't even care about being president, but maybe he does. It's hard to tell sometimes, because I was surprised when Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton. I thought it was an easy victory for Hillary Clinton, and I voted for Hillary Clinton. And I've since kind of had a change of heart about Hillary Clinton. I think she's a little bit crazy in terms of like supporting the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, or whichever it was. I don't follow that stuff as closely as I should, but I think that she backed George W. Bush. All I know is that she backed George W. Bush on, I think it was the war in Iraq, and it was a difficult time, and it's kind of centrist. That's kind of what bothered me about Hillary Clinton, was the centrism and the it's kind of an old-timey way of doing things. And that's kind of something that happens in politics, is you have old people and they're not fully in tune with the will or the interests of the youth, and you have a lot of like because it's almost like if you had a really strong Generation Z politician. A lot of the Democratic Party's goals are becoming archaic, and I think that centrism can be, I'm not really a communist, but I think that centrism can be harmful, because you're just trying to pander to right wingers, and you're trying to build a platform that is going to win. It's populism. I don't claim to be an expert on political science, but I've studied a little bit, and I do think it's kind of a psychological issue that you have a lot of old people in the government. So that's my views on RFK Jr. endorsing Donald Trump. I think he's an intelligent and tricky guy, and I think that he's just making a rhetorical gesture. He's opening the forum to people thinking and talking about their own views in a way that is a rhetorical gesture, and I don't think that it's not what it looks like. I think that he has gained a lot of political momentum with his. I think that RFK Jr. gained a lot of momentum with his political candidacy. He was seeking out ballot access on all 50 states, and I think that he's doing what he can. He was doing what he could to actually have a shot at getting the presidency. And I think that, I think he was looking at his chances and making an evaluation based on all of this mainstream media opposition. He's looking at his chances, and he's saying he doesn't have a chance. He doesn't want to be a spoiler candidate. That's what he said in his speech. And I think that it's interesting. I don't think I'll be voting mainstream. I don't think I'll be voting for either of the major politicians this year. I think that I like Kamala Harris, but I think I owe it to myself to vote for a third-party candidate. And I think Jill Stein represents my interests perfectly. I think that she has... I think she would make the best president out of all of these candidates, and I think that at this point, that she's going to get my vote. So that's my thoughts on RFK Jr. dropping out.